let's try this one more freaking time. Hopefully third time's the charm. Welcome to me looking exactly how I feel again. I've already changed my shirt today because I spilled coffee on my white t-shirt first thing this morning, and then my baby spat the sweet potatoes you're gonna watch me make all over me because she wasn't having it. So not sure why I'm showing you guys this. Hi guys, my name's Angie. I'm the Soggy Granola mom. If you are new here, go ahead and check out my intro video. I'll pop a little card in at the top so you can find out what Soggy Granola means. If you're coming back for some reason, thank you for joining me again. I appreciate your support. If any of this stuff interests you, be sure to subscribe, smash the like button, and do all that garbage. And I won't ramble and talk your ear off today. We're just gonna get into it. When we had a baby, when I was pregnant, I think even before I was pregnant, I knew that I wanted to make my own baby food eventually when we had kids. And I thought that it would be really easy. Actually, it is really easy to make it. What's not so easy is getting your kid to eat it. Thus me being covered in sweet potatoes before I started this. So when we started her on food, we actually started out with cereal. It was oats and quinoa. I know you're supposed to do single grain, but we actually did not. Thankfully, she didn't have a reaction to it, so we know that she can tolerate both of those things. However, she ended up constipated. And I felt terrible because she was just so upset every time she tried to poop, and it was awful. Instead of introducing vegetables, because everybody was like, you got to do vegetables first, otherwise she's going to hate them, blah, blah, blah. They were kind of right, but she really had to poop. So I gave her apples next because apples just right through your system, full of fiber, and they got things moving, and it worked. However, then it came time to introduce vegetables, and she was not having it. The first time I tried to introduce vegetables probably wasn't smart either, that I tried to make my own baby food. And I was gonna blend it all up after I cooked it down. I was gonna puree peas and carrots separately in my NutriBullet, and that thing was broken. So I was like, well, I have all these steamed vegetables. I have to figure out how to puree them because I don't want them to go to waste. They went to waste anyways. An immersion blender is not great for first foods with babies. The texture just did not get smooth enough. She hated it. So then I went and bought jarred baby food, hoping that the texture would be a little more tolerable for her. She still wasn't into it. It took me like 2 weeks of trying different vegetables, testing them out to see if she had a reaction to them, getting her to at least eat enough so that she ingested it and I could find out if she did have any reaction. And then moving on to the next one because she seemed to hate all of them. And then one night I was feeding her this combination one that had green beans and peas, both of which she had had, as well as asparagus, and she just kept spitting it out at me. And then finally I realized the trick was not doing it in between bottles, but when it was time for her next bottle, starting with the vegetables first. And she was really hungry, and then she ate it. And then I realized, oh, she doesn't really hate vegetables if it's her only option and she's hungry. She just would prefer not to eat them if she was given the option. For the last few months, as I've been introducing new foods to her and going through that list, the only baby food I've been making myself has been fruits. Applesauce I actually just get. For some reason, she tolerated it. The texture was a little weird to her at first, but she's gotten used to it because I used to mix it in with her cereal. I just do plain unsweetened. I try to get organic applesauce. I've done strawberries and blueberries quite successfully with her. Those are also things I will put into her cereal in the morning just to give it a little variety and a different flavor. We are venturing back into vegetables. I knew she loved sweet potatoes. I know she likes carrots. She'll tolerate them. She'll tolerate peas, and I had them on hand. So I figured I would show you guys kind of how I make baby food. You guys can see that, and then I'll talk about some stuff on the other side of that. So without further ado, this is my process to making baby food at home. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. As you can see, I have single ingredient frozen fruits and vegetables. I try to go for organic when I can, but it's been crazy quarantine time, so I took what I could get. Just make sure there's no added sugar or any other ingredients. You just want those frozen fruits and vegetables. And I used baby water that I used to make her formula. So starting with the peas, I kind of show you the full process with this, and it's the same for everything. I stick the vegetables into the pot. I add a little bit of baby water and then I stick a tight fitting lid on there because I want to steam it out. But I don't use a steam basket because I want to reserve that water. All of the nutrients are going to go into that water. That's why I try not to put too much water in it, because you want to get a good texture. You can always add a little extra when you're going to blend or puree your frozen vegetables. But I try to keep it low to start with, just enough to cook it down. And you can kind of see there the peas are pretty well cooked. I can mash them with the spoon if I needed to. So I just pop them into a bowl, and then I let those kind of cool down. I had a fan right for this process just to speed everything up. So I let those cool, and then once they're cool, I move ahead to the Ninja. This thing's amazing, by the way. I'll tell you more about that later. But I just pureed everything up, and then I have these little silicone dishes that I just put everything into. They're like an ounce per little pod, and I let that cool down usually, and then I label it with the date. I go ahead and pop it in the freezer. And then I move on to the next thing. So we also did some carrots. Those took a while. You have to steam them down, obviously, and really you want to be able to mash them with the spoon. Same deal, just pop them into the Ninja. I had to add a little extra water to bring that puree to a more smooth consistency. This one filled up, again, about half of the container. So they're orange. Also, sometimes the Ninja doesn't blend everything up. You really got to get in there. But I did half carrots, and then I went ahead and did half sweet potatoes on the other side. I did a lot of sweet potatoes because that's her favorite vegetable. But the orange, you got to have the orange wee sprout container because carrots, sweet potatoes, they stain everything. So you don't want to put orange vegetables into one of those green containers because it's going to look funky. But yep, went ahead and filled up the rest of that. So I did half and half. You can see the carrots are a little bit darker than the sweet potatoes. And what I had remaining, I popped into some baby food jars that I've saved. They come in really handy. I just wash them up after they've been used and stick them in the cupboard. And then I just labeled everything again with the date, popped it in the freezer, stuck some sweet potatoes in the fridge because she'll eat those tonight. And then same deal with the strawberries. Pop in some water, not too much, especially with fruit, because for some reason, especially with the strawberries, it'll cook down and you'll get a lot of moisture in those. This makes a really liquidy puree. But I do this and I stick usually one pod, so about an ounce of strawberries, into her cereal in the morning with some unsweetened applesauce. And because this one's so liquidy, I also kind of just poured it in with a spouted measuring cup. Makes a mess. So you usually have to clean that up before you pop it in the freezer, but no big deal. Same thing, stuck some strawberries in the jar, and I'm going to end up using those for her breakfast in the morning. So I stuck the pods in the freezer, and we went ahead and popped the extra strawberries for tomorrow morning right into the fridge. I wouldn't put anything into the fridge for more than 24 hours, so I always thaw out my frozen fruits and vegetables the night before, or the day before. I'll just pop them out of the thing into a mason jar, stick it in the fridge, and let it thaw overnight so that it's ready the next day. So as you can see, it's a fairly straightforward process. I would say my biggest tips are don't start making baby food at home until you know for sure certain ones that your baby does or does not like. I found out that she likes sweet potatoes because, like I said, I've been introducing her through jarred food. She's got a few things that she definitely will eat. She likes sweet potatoes. She will tolerate carrots. She doesn't really like green beans. She likes peas when it's mixed in with that peas, green beans, and asparagus. So I think she likes the asparagus flavor, but I do know that she will tolerate those other flavors. I feel like it's going to be a process getting her into eating more of the homemade vegetables, but I'm just cheap, man. Like, I get her Beech Nut Naturals or, Happy Baby organic. Like, I try to get her organic foods. So cost-wise, it's just going to make a lot more sense for me to do it at home. As you did see in the video, like, it's still quarantine time right now. So I got to take what I can get. But I also want to assure you that you don't have to be scared of feeding your baby conventional fruits and vegetables. I try to go for organic just because I do know that there's not going to be any added pesticides or any stuff in there that I don't want her to have. But usually if you're working with frozen fruits and vegetables, they're going to go through a cleaning process. It's going to get washed and everything before they freeze it. The health benefits from eating any fruits and vegetables, conventional or otherwise, that's going to outweigh the risk of the toxins from buying conventional, because you can't always afford organic. But a lot of people can't just do straight organic. A lot of people actually have to pick and choose. There's information out there of what are the best things to go for. I know that it tends to be things that you're going to eat the skins on. So things like tomatoes, apples, pears, and I'm speaking about fresh produce specifically. Those are the things that you might want to steer towards organic if you are shopping for them. That was a whole side rant about organic versus conventional that I didn't intend to go on, but I just want people to be encouraged to try and make their own food and don't feel like you have to buy organic if you can't afford it. My next tip is definitely be patient. If you are transitioning from jarred food into homemade baby food, it's a different texture. Like my baby loves sweet potatoes, but the ones I made they're just a little bit thicker of a consistency than what she's used to. And I did thin it down with a little bit of baby water. And then I actually ended up adding a little bit of formula to it that had been made up just to thin it out. But she still was like completely not sure about it. We managed to get her to eat it just by getting all excited and cheering her on. But yeah, don't be discouraged. I think that it takes time to get babies used to anything new when all they've known is either breast milk or bottle or whatever. Personally, I would rather throw out uneaten fruits and vegetables that I had bought in bulk and made at home over throwing out a jar of baby food that cost me $1 to $1.50. The other benefit to me is that it's just not as wasteful. You're not going through all those jars. Yes, I recycle them, but I'd rather not even end up dealing with them if I can avoid it. Of course, jarred baby food is good in certain situations for convenience. Again, when you're trying out brand new stuff, you don't want to buy a whole bag of something because you got to test it out and see if your baby reacts to it or doesn't like it. And if you do 100% jarred baby food, also no judgment, because it's kind of frustrating when you spend all the time to make it and then your baby's just like, whatever, this is gross, I'm not going to eat it. If you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you just don't feel like it, don't do it. Like, do what makes sense for you. But if you are interested in making baby food, it is really simple. And I want to encourage people to not get hung up on little things. Just kind of do what makes sense and try it out. And it's not going to hurt anybody to try. One last thing I did want to bring up was, as you saw it, I was using a Ninja food processor. So we had to replace the NutriBullet that we had because that thing's a nightmare. I wouldn't suggest that for making baby food or really making anything, because over time, because you're constantly putting things in it upside down, something had a leak, and that's what ended up happening. Was the tabs that have to be pushed down to activate the motor got caked with gunk and never got cleaned, and I didn't use it for so long that now it's just like frozen in place. You can't push anything down to get it to go. I would suggest looking into the Ninja, because that thing is $20 on Amazon, and I'll link it below so you can pick one up. It's a way better consistency. It's faster at blending compared to using the immersion blender that I tried the very first time I made baby food, and it just gets stuff a lot smoother. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer them. I'm no expert in this. It's something I'm definitely getting used to and learning more about myself, but I thought it would be beneficial to just share it with you guys to show you that it really isn't that complicated if it's something you want to try with your own kid. I have to keep reminding myself that she won't be eating soft baby food forever. So someday she will be picking up little bits, and I can just put the vegetables right on her tray for her to eat. Maybe it'll be fun for her. And maybe she'll like eating turkey then when it's not ground up into a jar. That's one thing I'm probably not going to try to do myself. I'm not going to roast a turkey, grind it up, freeze it, and then thaw it out every day for my daughter to gag every time I try to give it to her. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I hope that this was informational and maybe a little entertaining for you. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Deuces. waste because baby food jars. Ugh. Take 2.